Network Entertainment.
Ladies and gentlemen, our very special musical guest from the grave, Frank Sinatra.
Oh, okay.
Love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. This I tell your brother. You can't have one without the other. Love and marriage, love and
No
marriage.
idea what this song is. Does it really sound like this? Who knows?
It sounds exactly like this. Buti na lang hindi niya alam para hindi niya alam kung paano na murder. So,
Okay, so it doesn't sound like this song.
it doesn't sound like that. Well, it's sort of okay.
Okay.
That part na love and marriage. Yun.
Because it sounds like a children's rhyme song.
It
the way
kind
you
of sounds
did
like
it.
it.
Okay.
It kind of sounds like it.
Okay, well, I guess I'll
Okay.
take your word for it. And
So, but what I like about this little ditty,
Titty.
um,
I like the
ditty,
big
sabi
titties.
ko,
Oo nga.
ditty.
Believe me, I know. Kasi kung iba yung enunciation, well, alam naman natin yun. Diba?
Yeah, you know. It's
I like
not
big
my cup of
titties.
tea.
Diba?
I know. Like the ditty said, parang it's a very old song, obviously, Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
So parang ano niya, parang you can't have one without the other. That's part of
Okay.
the song. You can't have love without marriage, and you can't have marriage without love.
Without love.
Well, in the case of our show for
that
today,
we're talking about today, apparently you can.
you can. Well,
Yeah,
at
you
first.
can. Well, at first, yeah.
Yeah,
So it gets really
yeah.
okay. This is. I did not see this coming. Like, you know what I mean? Because okay, so the show that
Okay,
we're
you
talking
first.
about
You
is
first. I have a lot to say about it.
Mr.
Okay.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith. All right.
Yeah.
So, if you recall, there was a Mr. and Mrs. Smith back in the day with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. And essentially, that's the movie where they supposedly got together, diba? Like
Yes.
that's how Brad Pitt broke up with Angelina Jolie, with Jennifer Aniston, then eventually ended up with Angelina Jolie, was because of this movie. Now that movie was very action packed, very action packed, and the way that movie worked is, they fell in love with each other, not knowing that they were spies, and then they only
Okay.
found out into their relationship na parang, oh my god, she's a competing spy and I married her. I didn't know. I thought she was like someone else. Blah 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 blah.
Okay, so I have a big but. So,
Do you though? I mean, it's okay. It's all right.
but let's open the show
I've
first.
seen it before.
Let's open the show first.
Let's open
In
the show.
boxers. In
Welcome
boxers.
to boxers. How about pajamas na nakatakin yung t-shirt? Tapos hindi man
Where
lang
is
short
the
sleeves
lie?
na t-shirt.
Where is the
Alam mo
lie?
yung long sleeves na puti na parang kami sa chino.
Where is the lie?
Takip na takip eh. Samantalang ako naman, good night. Tanggal na.
Hindi, gusto ko yung sabi ko, oh Gino, breakfast na tayo. Total, gising ka na eh. Sige na.
Ka na.
Hindi, Gino nakagano. Dito yung towel ha. Dito yung neck niya yung towel. Yung blanket.
Yung
Sabi ko,
comforter.
sige, mauna ka na. Sabi ko, hindi ka na. Sabi ko, no, go ahead. Sabi ko, oh no. You're naked underneath there, aren't you? Sabi niya, yep. Okay, I'll go ahead.
I'll see you downstairs.
I'll see you downstairs. On that note, I'll see you downstairs.
Yes, okay. Welcome to Only Fun. His name is Chico Garcia. My name is Chico
And-
Killiamore. Boom, boom,
Yes.
boom.
Okay. Oh yeah,
Mr. and
that was
Mrs.
you
Smith.
when you were young. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
That was you.
Yeah,
Boom,
that's
boom.
right.
Okay.
And you were Bujak Jack, di ba?
Yes. So my thing with this is, okay, my big but that I was telling you about. A lot of us think that, this is like the remake of the Brangelina Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Apparently, there have been 4 versions of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. The first one, as far back as Alfred Hitchcock in 1941. It
Okay.
was already Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Tapos nagkaroon ng 1996 TV series, the year that the Morning Rush started. It
Uh-huh.
starred naman Scott Bakula and Maria Bello. Believe it or not.
I know Marillo, Scott Bakula.
Scott Bakula, a Quantum Leap. The first one.
Oh, him. Oh, okay. Yeah,
You know him. Yeah, Scott
Yeah, yeah.
Bakula. And a lot of mga sci-fi, whatever. And then third na, yung kala
Oh, Maria
Brangelina.
Bello.
Of
She's
course,
so chicks talaga.
yun yung mas
Anyway.
aalala natin because that was the one that got really popular. And because of the whole
Yeah.
divorce and, Brangelina thing, right? So, I mean, I loved Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the Brangelina version. Pero alam mo yun, it's not one of my favorites. I enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
I mean, it was super enjoyable. It was memorable.
It was memorable.
Alam mo yung parang it's a movie that everybody knows, but it's not like Lord of the Rings or
Exactly,
Star Wars
exactly.
na parang
Na parang,
it's something
"Uy,
that
may
you
remake."
rewatch
Oo.
over and over. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So when I first saw this, I was like, oh, Mr. and Mrs.
Yeah.
Smith. And then I watched the trailer. Because di ba, when it first comes out, may trailer naman
Yeah.
siyang kasama. So I watched the trailer too. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And FYI, I admire the guy. And I think he's a great
Donald
artist.
Glover.
Oh, yeah, like overall. But
Yeah.
I was never really a big fan of Donald Glover. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I never watched Atlanta.
No. Did
I
you ever watch
like his
Community? No.
songs. I haven't watched
Oh,
Community.
he was
So,
amazing in Community.
wala
Okay.
akong masyadong outside of the songs which we played
Yeah.
on the radio.
This is
parang-
America.
Here and there, snippets. So alam mo yun, I was like,
Like you know of him, but
okay.
you're not really a fan.
I'm not a fan. So when I saw it, I was like, okay, looks interesting,
yeah.
pero pass. Okay, and then
Yeah.
of course Maya Erskine, I was like, I don't know her. I've never really
Yeah.
seen her. So honestly, if you didn't suggest that we do it,
Yeah, you
I
wouldn't
would
have
have been-
watched this. Yeah.
or even if you suggested it, and let's say there was another show that I found more interesting, I probably argue na, can we watch this instead? Because I
Yeah.
wasn't really feeling it. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I can watch it. It's not like I'm against it, but it's more like
It's
not
just
really
not your.
excited.
It's just not your thing. Yeah, yeah.
So you suggested it, and malama, and most of the time ako yung nagsasuggest. I was like, oh sige, fine, okay, I'll watch it if Gino likes this one. Oh my god!
Ayan na. Oh, no?
Oh, this is
It's so
like
good.
amazing. Like,
It's so good.
And-
And can we just talk about
Oh,
the guests?
this
The guests
is
that
so
they have.
Good.
It's. I'm currently on like episode 5 or 6, I think.
I'm in
First
two.
episode.
Two.
First episode alone. They have like these amazing cameos. Si Skarsgård. What's his Alexander Skarsgård?
Alexander Skarsgård.
Alexander Skarsgård and si Asa Gonzalez.
Gonzalez.
who's
Yeah. Isa
super
Gonzalez. Gorgeous.
gorgeous. But they're gone in like 5 minutes. Parang ganun,
Yeah.
like, and they don't even. Well, it's not really a spoiler, but they don't harken
No.
back to like what happened and whatever. But basically, I like how it gives such a different feel to the Brangelina Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's so
You know,
different. It's so different.
that's the thing. I'm glad you brought up Alexander and Isa. Is that how you say it? Akala ko Aiza or Aiza.
Aiza
pala.
yata.
Okay.
Aiza Gonzalez.
Aiza. Oh, basta parang ganun. Parang
Eiza.
Z-A. But
Yeah.
she's gorgeous. I had to, believe it or not, I had to Google her because I was like, she's gorgeous. Ang ganda,
I already
ganda.
follow her.
Anyway, ako si Alexander
She's-
Skarsgård.
everything is right in the world.
Yeah. Okay, so alam mo yung, okay, what I love about this is I'm not a fan of the two leads. Kasi nga, well, si Maya, hindi ko siya kilala. And then
Oh.
si Donald Glover, kilala ko, pero
Pero
you
hindi
know,
mo na,
yeah.
hindi ka naman sobrang
Oo. And then it's so weird because I think a lot of
sorry. You know where you know Maya Erskine from?
Where?
Blue Eye Samurai. She's the voice.
No. I
Yep.
love her even more.
Yep. That's
Oh my
she's Mizu's
gosh.
voice. Yeah.
Oh.
That's why I was like, okay. But I don't think we've watched her in anything outside of Blue Eye Samurai.
Okay, so here's the thing. I find it so weird Because if you watch the Brangelina version, it's like wham bam, thank you, man. Like,
Action,
bilis,
action.
action
As
pack.
in, ano siya?
The
It's
weird
a
thing
Hollywood
about that,
blockbuster. That's what
it's a
it
Hollywood
is.
blockbuster, and plus it's a movie. It's not a series, and as
Yeah.
opposed to this one where there are multiple episodes. A lot of the first episode and the episodes after that, literally, it's just the two of them doing small
Talking.
talk.
Yeah,
Like, alam mo
yeah.
it's not even relevant to the plot. I mean, they're talking about the most random, ano yung gusto mong kinakain sa umaga, hindi ako mahilig mag-breakfast, pero sige, titikman ko. Like, literally, the most boring, mundane topics. But for some reason,
But the background lang is that,
it's so engaging. And
yeah.
you know the feel na parang, minsan, when they start doing the spy stuff already, I have to be like, I have to go to work na.
Tapusin nyo na to para balik na tayo.
Pwede ba mag-usap? You know how like, okay, we have the same line of work. Don't you get that sometimes? Like, kunyari, pag meron kang hosting on a weekend, yung parang you're doing something fun in the morning and it's like, whoops, okay, I have to stop this, whatever it is that I'm doing.
Work mode muna tayo.
Parang, okay, work mode muna tayo. Tapos babalikan ko na lang siya later. Kunyari, ikaw, video games. Balikan ko na lang tong video game after the hosting. Medyo may ganun ako na, I actually look forward to the slower stuff, the more boring stuff, weirdly. Tapos, I find it so interesting that they started out with two gorgeous, physically gorgeous people.
Yeah.
Alexander Skarsgård and Isa Gonzalez. Not to say that Donald and Maya are not good looking, but they're not your
comparatively kasi.
Tsaka hindi sila yung traditionally good looking people.
Okay, put it this way. If you see Alexander Skarsgård and Isa Gonzalez holding hands walking through like a courtyard or something, you would stop and stare.
Yeah.
Alam mo yung parang, damn, that's a good-looking couple. If you see Maya Erskine and Donald Glover, for me, I'd probably look at Donald Glover because I know him. But like, alam mo yung parang outside of that, okay, they look like normal, average, everyday people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, hindi sila yung model-esque na good. Although, to be fair, they're actually both good-looking din. Pero parang comparatively,
they are.
If you compare them to the likes of the Skarsgårds and the Isa Gonzalez's, parang all of a sudden ako
Tsaka yung good-looking nila, yung parang hindi, yung kumbaga, parang like, it's not the parang universally agreed upon parang bellwether of beauty. Gets? Yung, alam mo yun, yung, but it's so strange by the end of episode 1. Like, I think I have a crush on both. Alam mo yung ganun kaganda yung script that hindi kasi parang like, you know what I mean? Like
both of them,
you could cut the tension with a knife.
Alam naman,
like the sexual
alam naman natin lahat na
tension
bahay ka talaga.
Well, by more like the first syllable. There's a second syllable.
That's Cebuano ba to?
That's Cebuano. No, bye. Cebuano. Parang, uy, bye.
Oh, exactly.
Tol. Like it's crazy. Like alam mo yung, I'm not physically attracted to them both, but like, alam mo yung, I find the entire thing so sexy. Na parang it's like, this is crazy. The sexual tension. Easter egg. Pero it's crazy. Like it's so good.
What I'm
so good.
Because to be honest, when I first saw Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Prime Video, I thought that it would feel the same way that Brangelina, Mr. and Mrs. Smith would.
Exactly.
Which is honestly what I was looking for. Because I wanted something na parang, okay, yung very Six Underground, Red Notice, you know, that kind of vibe. Tom Clancy. Basically action pack. I didn't expect it to be like a existential kind of joyride. It's kind of like what was that? Before sunset, after
before
sunset
sunrise.
Series. Yung ganon, yung it's the background is that they're spies, is that they're high risk assassins. The real story is it's the two of them. It's how they talk to each other, their issues with each other.
Sobra. Sobra.
Eventually, parang like how they want to run their marriages and how. And it seems so real the way they talk about it. Alam mo, parang nagkataon lang na okay, weird yung trabaho nila, pero they're normal people.
Like sometimes remember that that scene with yung that spy yung si Gal Gadot tsaka si some handsome guy. Tapos yung remember that scene na biglang they just started kissing by the wall na ang sexy. Alam mo yung ganun yung but it's kind of very Hollywoody. Ito, okay, just to give you a little example from the first episode, when they first moved in, they didn't know who each other was. Like they had to introduce themselves. I'm John.
So that's one of the main differences, pala. So again, in the Brangelina version, they were already spies working for different companies. They had their own personal companies, and then they got together, falling in love with each other, and then eventually found out na parang, oh my God, pinakasalan ko pala spy din. Yeah. Here, it's the other way around. There's a company that basically assigns a John and a Jane together. Na parang, okay, you're gonna be the husband, you're gonna be the wife, you're gonna live together. Your cover is that you guys are married, but deep down inside, like what you're really trying to do is infiltrate and do whatever the company asks you to do. Okay.
Magandang araw para sa mga mas nakakalurky na storya,
mas masayang kwentuhan,
mas nakakautot sa kaligayahan na chismisan,
mga kaabang-abang na storya.
Aba, tutok na lagi sa Tambalan Podcast.
Tapos yun, like you were saying na parang it feels so real. So imagine mo, day one. So they just met each other. They go to their separate rooms. Tapos nung gabi, pumasok si Donald Glover dun sa room ni Maya. And then he was just wearing pants and he was shirtless. So alam mo yung wala pa silang sinasabi. Like that was my thing. I was like, oh my, you just met each other. And then you're going to go inside just wearing like shirtless. And then just as I thought it in my head, the character, si Jane, goes like, you're not wearing a shirt.
No,
you lose your shirt? Like, calls it out. Na parang, we just met each other. And
we just met. And then,
and then he was like, oh, it was warm. It's not, it's more comfortable here. It's warm where I am. So
I was working
like,
out.
You could feel
the tension.
The tension. And that, like you're not sure, but you suspect that they find each other attractive. So, alam mo yun, yung parang like, what are you doing? So
it's weird because it's a work situation, but
it's a work situation.
The reason he went there was because he wanted to say goodnight.
Yes.
Which is strange because I mean, technically, like let's just say, okay, the first time that we ever met, and maybe like let's say the first time, I can't remember the first outing that we were ever a part of. I'm pretty sure I didn't go up to your door and be like, hey, good night, diba? Parang it's not something that happens on the first night. And because these two had never met.
You tucked me in, tapos sabi mo, don't let the bed bugs bite. Wow. Tapos nag-butterfly kisses ka.
Nag-iilusyon na naman.
Okay, wait, alam ko na. You were trying to hit on me. Wow. I remember. Not in the trip.
Kasi ganda ako sa'yo. Diba?
Not in the trip.
What do you mean?
Do you remember? I was minding my own business at home. And then I get a call from Gino Killiamore saying, hey, are you at home right now?
I'm like, sure I didn't sound like that.
Wait, are you at home right now? And I'm like, yeah, why? It's like, I'm standing right outside your door. Could you meet me up for a minute? So I was like, oh,
this is why delivery is so crucial.
So,
the tone is so crucial.
I was like, okay. And then he was like, I was running.
Girl, I was like, okay.
Tapos sabi ni Gina, I was running, doing my nightly exercise, and I twisted my ankle. Do you have some Ben Gay?
Okay. now that that's done, here's how it really went down. Alam mo yung, I can't remember exactly how, but I'm pretty sure I was like, Chico, ba't ka na matawag? Na-spray na ako, may Bengay ka ba dyan? Pili ko ganun yung nangyari. Pero legit, I was running outside and then I sprayed my ankle.
That's what you say. That's what
God.
you say. So,
You know, I wouldn't have asked if it weren't uphill. Pero uphill kasi yung bahay namin eh.
at saka ko alam mong i-bring up ko like 100 years later on a podcast.
Wag na lang. Diba? Titiisin ko na lang yung sakit.
Tapos, alam mo yung feeling ko, yung gusto ni Gina Boy, yung sabi niya like, can you rub some on my ankle? Tapos like, I'd be like, sasabihin ko sa kanya, oh, I'm not that kind of girl. I mean, I don't bend gay on the first date.
I'm not really a girl.
I don't bend gay on the first date. Ang pangit. You know what? That was like,
In retrospect, I could have just asked for like ointment instead of Bengay. I shouldn't have gone product specific.
at saka nakakatawa ha. Nakakatawa, hindi pa uso yung bengay noon. So I
Pero
was
meron
like,
ka. Wala ka ba nun?
Di ba? Wala.
Wala
Parang,
ba?
ata yung parang white flower
Yeah.
or tiger balm or something.
Tapos, ngayon, it all makes perfect sense. Bakit white flower yung meron?
So, hindi, kasi di ba now you can get Bengay like in like, I don't
Pretty much
know,
everywhere,
SNR or
yeah.
something. Before, nung time na yon, wala pa masyado.
Oh.
Like, it's hard to come by. Kaya sabi ko, di ba itong sa social to na nangihingi na nga lang ng ointment? Yung imported pa yung gusto. Pwede namang efficacent oil or
I didn't know that it was
or
hard to
tiger
find.
balm.
I thought
Social naman.
I thought it was readily available.
I mean, I know beggars can't be chooser, but this beggar is choosy. Ay. But anyway, yun, so it's very real.
I really
It's
shouldn't
very
have gone
real.
brand specific.
You know
But
what
yeah.
it was? In literature, that's
Uh-huh.
called foreshadowing.
Little did our protagonist know.
That was foreshadowing. Yeah.
But yeah, like, okay, so going back to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, again, it's not what I mean. There's actually very little action in it, honestly. Like, there's very little action in it. Like, I mean, may barilan, pero it lasts for maybe 2-3 minutes. That's it.
Yeah.
Out of like an entire hour's worth of the show.
And
But
I
it's
get
just-
it, ah.
Oh.
Kasi I kind of got into a deep dive, and
Uh-huh.
a lot of reviews are like glowing, but there are also the ones who don't like it at all, who would
No.
give it like 2 stars out of 5, and then the general consensus is and so many people, I mean, so many reviewers actually described it as either you love it or you hate it kind of thing.
And it's annoying. I don't know. It's one of those things it's one of those shows that gives me an awkward, odd, kind of quiet
Yeah.
feeling after watching it. It's very. Have you seen Poor Things?
No, I have not. I want to
Okay,
watch it. I have
watch Poor
not.
Things. Which I really hope to be able to do an episode on Only Fun for eventually.
Yes, please.
But yeah, it gives me that same eerie, quiet vibe that I get after watching an art film, and not like an
Yeah.
art film for the
Yeah.
sex, like an actual art film.
Like an
Oh.
actual, like a legit,
Yeah,
not a wink art film.
yeah. So it's weird, but it's so watchable. It's so enjoyable. It's so, I don't know. I'm so engrossed whenever they talk, which is weird, and whenever they deal with their
Exactly.
problems.
Exactly.
Oh,
And
na parang,
I'm not
to be
talking about
fair-
like merong mga talk na yung kasi it's a witty, tsaka bantery.
this is so
Ito hindi,
normal.
like literally talking about sandwiches, talking about
Oh.
the most mundane, non-interesting stuff. But
But
for
they-
some
yeah.
reason, it's interesting.
It's weird, but I think give it a shot. But maybe again, it's one of those either you love it or you hate it kind of things.
Kind of, yeah, agree.
But I love it.
I love
I
that.
gotta say, yeah.
I will definitely watch
And it's
this
not
to the end.
because Donald Glover is actually a really good
Mm.
comedian. Like he has, if I remember correctly, he actually does stand up also. He does stand up. He was hilarious in Community, but here, he's not funny. Here, like he's
Okay.
just voila. He's normal. I mean, obviously, he'll have he'll have witty remarks every now and then, but he's not trying to be funny. He's
Mhm.
he's just voila conversing. It's weird. I can't properly explain how it works because
It's
they're
so
yun
good.
nga, again
That's
again
all
they're
I'll
just
say.
talking.
It's so good.
They're just
As
talking,
in-
but you're so part of the conversation. You're drawn into it. I don't know. It's weird. And it's not even problems that I can technically relate to. Because
Yeah,
you know how
exactly.
sometimes you'll watch things
Yes.
because it's like, oh, okay, they're speaking about the things that I'm going through.
Mm.
I'm not going through anything that they're talking about, but like for
Yeah.
some weird reason, I'm invested in their relationship. So yeah, check it out, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's on Prime Video now. I think it's on like episode 7 or 8. I know Donald
wait.
Glover is one of the producers.
It's not done yet.
I don't think it. I think
Oh.
6. Wait. Let me check. Baka 6
Di ba
episodes.
8
pala.
yata? Parang 8 episodes yata, if I remember right. Either 8
Uh,
episodes lang or nasa 8th episode na sila. Kasi
There
parang
are a
may
total
naalala kong 8.
of 8 episodes.
Right.
Yeah, I think 8 is okay. It's season 1, 8 episodes nakalagay. I don't know if it's a limited thing. Because again,
But
I'm only
there's talk of season 2. So
probably
yeah.
because I think it's pretty well received naman eh. So yeah, I think this will actually stretch out. If it's still gonna be them, I don't know. Maybe they'll use a different.
Who knows?
Kasi di ba nga, what is there are other Mr. and Mrs. Smiths.
Exactly.
There are
At saka
other
parang,
John and Janes.
I don't know about you, kasi ikaw nasa episode 5 ka na. Pero just from an episode 2 point of view, parang that it was a handover from Alexander and Isa, parang because of the first scene, parang the way I get it, sila yung pumalit or
Pero they didn't
something.
really explain.
No, that's what I mean. Parang feeling ko down the road. Kasi di ba, from that, they moved to like
Biglang
recruiting.
tono na. Oo, pero
recruiting. So feeling ko parang, this is yung isa towards the end of their tenure. Tapos you go back
ito
to the
pa-start pa lang.
another couple na pa-start pa lang. Pero dun din sila papunta. Parang that's what I get from the first
I don't know nga
episode.
kasi it's not a spoiler, but they'll eventually meet another Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So
Okay.
that's
Okay.
so yun nga parang I'm on episode 5, but I'm still trying to figure out what exactly the relevance of Alexander Skarsgård and Asa Gonzalez are to the story.
Kaya nga maganda,
if
kasi parang
if it's part.
if they just gave you a rehash of the Brangelina version, then yeah, it might end up boring. But I love that it's keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
Like it's a very slow boil kind of series, pero you're so excited. You're so like, go watch it.
Yeah, so check it
So
out.
good.
Prime Video, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Of course, we want to thank our partners, the Pod Network Entertainment. You can check us out on social media. It's at OnlyFunPH, at Chico Garcia for him, at Gino.KillYamore for me.
All right. We'll see you guys. Bye.
Bye.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.